and address some rumors that have been floating around the interweb. Guys, our next topic is brought to you by Game Time. NFL season is here, the NBA's here, and there's nothing better than seeing your favorite team in person. And if you buy tickets online and between the login screens, the waiting time, prices jumping at checkout, it can be frustrating, but that's where Game Time comes in. Game Time gives fans the advantage back. It's easy and backed by the Game Time guarantee, where you always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best prices. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Download Game Time today.
Browns wide receivers had 57 yards last week, but that includes Jerry Jeudy.
Who had 43, didn't he? No, he had 17.
No, it's 17. So
yeah. I like my chances, both.
Thrash had 23, Jeudy had 17, and Corley had 17. That was it for wide receivers.
Corley had one catch for 17 yards?
Two for 17. He had a 17-yard catch and then a 0-yard catch.
Yeah,
and
it was two different screenplays.
He got up celebrating like it was
the best thing we did.
Boy.
5 catches for 57 yards.
Probably the most explosive pass.
Speaking of wide receivers, though,
Yes.
guys, there's been some internet chatter, and it started in a space, and then it was just kind of a spaces thing. Then it made its way into some more local media. I know Ken and Lima talked about it earlier today. It made its way to New York radio.
More importantly,
WFAN.
I talked about it with Dustin on my podcast this
Bull
morning.
talked about it with Dustin this morning on his podcast.
Yeah.
But there's a rumor out there that if the Jets have a fire sale, the Browns would be interested in Garrett Wilson. There are also some other receivers out there, Jalen Waddle, who could be traded.
Yeah.
Chris Olave, who could be traded.
Go Bucks.
That are put in the same conversation. If the Browns want to add addition to their receiver room, they could be potential targets. Instead of talking specifics, and we could dive into specifics while we're looking at this from a big picture standpoint, Bull, in your mind, does it make sense for the Browns to have any significant draft capital for a player at a skill position before they figure out who their long-term quarterback is? Or is that putting the cart before the horse?
Well, of course, like there may not be an opportunity to get a quarterback necessarily. So it depends, I think, on the individual situation. But I believe that the Browns believe they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round next year.
Okay.
And thus, they are not going to trade a first-round pick, which I think you would need to get Garrett Wilson. I think you're going to need to trade a first-round pick.
You don't think they take the second?
Even then, the Browns
the
are not going to trade a top
pick.
40 pick right now for a wide receiver when they have so many holes.
Now,
Now,
one of those holes being
Wide receiver.
I know that, but until they don't want to give up any potential weapons to get their quarterback. That's how I think they think.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm with G. He ain't even got to say nothing because I know where he's at.
Yeah.
On this
take the floor. Take the floor.
Like, first of all, Garrett Wilson is in the league already.
Yes.
No.
He's done some wonderful things to the point where some people look at him like this guy should be a top 10 receiver, right?
He hasn't been.
Would you say if he had a quarterback, would you say that
He'd be
probably,
back end of the top 10.
probably.
Yes.
You don't want that? You'd rather go with the unknown from college?
No, of course not. I'd rather have him.
And guess what? He's already signed.
But what
It's
about
actually a pretty reasonable contract.
Yeah,
What about
he's
in-
already signed and everything?
Tyvus, what about in theory if you need that second round? First of all, I don't buy that you can get him for a second round pick. I don't believe that.
So if we had
I
to
think
give
you
up-
need a first round pick.
But I like the premise.
But I understand what you're
let's go
saying.
with, so say it is a second round pick. Now
Yeah. Okay.
All right, go ahead. Now why you don't want it?
It's not necessarily that I don't want it. It's just the Browns. I believe the Browns. I wouldn't trade no, I'm not going to just say what the Browns want. I would not trade a high second round pick because the Browns may potentially need that pick to help them acquire a quarterback. And until you acquire, that doesn't mean you ignore every other problem you have.
Wait a minute.
Because you have other picks.
Wait a minute.
But you got to keep all those high picks to potentially help you get a quarterback.
Wait a minute. So
Yeah.
they're going to need the second round pick to acquire a quarterback in the draft?
As part of a trade, potentially.
You know they got 2 first round picks.
I understand that.
So you advocating giving up 2 first round picks and a second round pick for a quarterback
Potentially.
this year? Okay, so here's what is going to happen.
Probably not.
If they
Wait, with them picking it. With
those guys picking it.
Hey, listen.
Wait a minute. What is
What good does Garrett Wilson do you if you have no quarterback?
What good is a quarterback
we got 2 first round picks.
What good is a quarterback if you have no receivers? You think he's going to be great with Jamari Thrash?
No.
Or Malachi Corley?
I get it, but I think you have to get the quarterback first in this case.
Here's what's going to happen.
You got 2 first-round picks, boy.
I understand that time. But I think we're having an unrealistic conversation because I just don't buy that he's going to be traded for a second
For
round
what it's
pick.
worth, real quick.
Yeah.
The Jaguars traded up to the number 2 spot for Travis Hunter. They gave up 2 first-round picks, essentially, and a second-round pick. So to get up in the draft, if you want to move up that high to get a guy you want, it's going to take some legitimate capital.
It is going to cost you a lot.
So they gave up.
And that was for a non-quarterback.
Exactly. So and I don't disagree with either of you. I just want to point that
So
out.
I get what you guys are saying.
Why can't you give them the second next year?
Listen, I get what you guys are saying. I'll say it this way: if the Browns did trade a second-round pick for Garrett Wilson, I'm not going to rip him.
Well, they probably.
I understand that.
What if they gave up?
But
this
I'd be
year's
shocked if it
second
happened.
And next year's second.
I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
If they use their capital to draft a quarterback, they will be fired midseason. I'm going to let you know that right now.
Yeah.
Because to use that capital, that means who are you? You have no tackles.
Right.
You have no receivers. So what did you learn from this? This is the problem where Earl gets despondent.
Yeah.
Because what did you learn from this year? We learned that this year you didn't get any receivers, and they're bad. They're the worst in the league. So instead of you improving that and going to do something, you say, no, give me another quarterback. You've seen what the offense looks like with these 2 quarterbacks, and you saw what it looked like with Flacco, and you saw what it looked with Watson.
Yes, I understand. They got to improve everything. But the quarterback is the most important thing.
Look, if you put a quarterback in here and he ain't got no receivers, and they will be 3-something again.
I know, but you're saying, oh, well, let's get him because he's proven, and you're right. But you're also saying, well, if they get a quarterback, there's no other way to get a receiver.
No. If you trade all of your draft capital to get a quarterback,
that's fair.
Where are we getting this other capital from?
All right, that's fair.
So you're not going to draft a tackle.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a receiver, and you're going to have a young quarterback in another quarterback competition.
It's a fair point. I think you kind of talked me into it on a second-round pick.
I mean, this
talked me into it.
I mean, this is crazy. It would be like it's like running it back. Let's just run it back with another new quarterback.
Gee, did the Bengals? The Bengals had nothing when they drafted Joe Burrow.
So here's what they did.
They had nothing.
The Bengals had Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
They could have got Penei Sewell or who?
Jamar Chase.
Who did they
That's
take?
not the same as this.
It is. It is.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is.
What are you talking about?
What I'm saying is
they drafted Burrow first.
What I'm saying.
A year before.
They got Burrow, right?
Yes.
And
they had nothing. They drafted Higgins that year too. Same as Burrow.
So they got. So look at that.
Yeah.
So they stockpiling it. They got Higgins. If that was the Browns, they would have took Burrow, took Higgins, and said, we don't need another receiver.
No, they would have took a tackle.
They would have took a tackle.
But that's not the same as this.
But where we're at is.
Hey, listen. You got me on a second-round pick. I've come around.
All right. Well,
I still wouldn't trade it first.
I got you here. That's okay.
I still wouldn't trade it first.
I'm not gonna get greedy
because I think you're right. In the end, if they have to trade up, they could trade the 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick the following year if they really had to do that.
And let me ask you this, Bo.
And you could still have Garrett Wilson on the second-round pick.
In a vacuum, if I told you get a top 10 receiver on a very reasonable contract for a second-round pick,
yes, in a vacuum, I'd want Garrett Wilson.
That's what I'm saying. I'm simplifying it for everybody. For a second-round pick, you take that. For the first, I then shift over to your side of it where I think you need the capital to be able to get in a position to get a quarterback if you believe there's one.
Right. I think there's a difference there. So I'm in on the second-round pick. And again, listen.
But you say you need the.
You think Garrett Wilson wants to come to the Browns?
Probably not. I mean,
we don't care what he want to do.
I'm about to say you can.
It's just like Jared Allen and his hobbies. We don't care about that.
But you even said.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, this is from you, direct quote.
Go ahead.
If a team needs a quarterback, they're not going to trade up. They don't care what you offer them. They're not giving up that pick for the quarterback. Yeah. So you can have the first to the next. I'm not giving up the
unless the team doesn't. Unless that team doesn't need a quarterback.
Well, if it's only usually
like if Tennessee's drafting second.
Right. Tennessee not going to draft a quarterback again next
year. By
the
way, if you beat the Jets, you're not getting the quarterback.
No, that's true.
Go ahead and beat the Jets. You're not getting, because they're going to be right up.
Luckily, the second
theory, if there's 2 quarterbacks, although I don't trust the Jets to get it right at quarterback either.
Now, here's the thing, too.
Yeah.
I talked to Sean King. We did the quarterbacks in 26. We started the barbershop tracker.
He likes the Alabama guy.
He likes Ty Simpson. He likes Mendoza. Let me tell you this.
I thought he didn't like Mendoza.
He likes both of them. Now, here's the thing that I was telling people.
He was a John Mateer guy.
There's Mateer. There's a lot of guys. He said the problem with this class is there's going to be a lot of guys that have name brand recognition. And we've heard the Nussmeyers, we've heard Kate Clubbing, we heard Lenora Sellers, we heard Arch Manning. It's going to be a lot of guys, Sam Levitt, dudes like that. And there's going to be a lot of dudes whose name is mentioned from the first round, late first round, or early second round, where there are some guys that are going to get overdrafted based on the fact that the 2026 draft was supposed to be loaded, and some of the people we knew beforehand, their names. And when they go to these, get on the whiteboard and go to the combine, they're going to talk the talk. They're going to walk the walk. They've been playing in college 3-4 years, and somebody going to overdraft them. Now, the problem is this. After the first two quarterbacks, can I see the Browns completely talking themselves into a third-tier quarterback? Sure, because that's what happens when you need a quarterback.
Well, but the third quarterback, again, I have no faith that the Browns will do this, but the third in the 2020 case, the third quarterback was
Baker.
Well, the fourth quarterback was Josh Allen, right?
No, he was third.
He was third. And then Lamar was fifth. And they're the two best from that draft, and then Baker third. Right?
But the thing I do, coming back to the quarterback situation, if people think that and Ty, but you let me know, if you think there is a quarterback that you're going to take right now, put him in the Browns with no receivers and the same offensive line. Actually, the offensive line is a little worse because Batonio's going to retire.
Yeah.
And and you put him there with them swinging tackles.
But again, the whole conversation doesn't really make sense because if you're the Jets, why would you trade Garrett Wilson for a second-round pick? Why would you do that?
That's the part that don't make sense.
That's the part. It started in the spaces for a reason.
So I think I blame you, Mike, for putting us in the space spot.
Hey, it's a rumor we had to address, and we did a good job.
Hey, the Jets, why would you trade him for a second-round pick?
I agree. I don't think
Mikey McNuggets did.
So to me, it would take a 1+ to get Garrett Wilson. The Browns are not going to do that.
You know what he did? He think he's slick. He just stole a whole possession, didn't you, McNuggets? Yeah. He stole a possession. That is a nice trick.
Listen, I pushed it forward. I look at the question I put on the rundown. Is it worth trading any assets for anybody before you get the quarterback in place? That's how you take a rumor and you make it your own.
Would you guys, we got to get let me ask you guys. Would you give up a first-round plus for Garrett Wilson?
No.
To me, that's what it's going to take.
There we go.